Okay, we're going to get started. So if you could please take your seats. Good morning, everyone. I am Sunny House Vice Chair. I am filling in for Frank Rivera, who was not available today. Before we get started, I would like to ask our interpreter to walk through how to access our interpretation services for today's meeting. So please proceed.
Good morning. Announcement from interpreter. To use the interpretation feature, please scroll to the bottom of the Zoom screen where the meeting controls are. Click on the interpretation icon, World, and select English as your language. If you're joining through the Zoom mobile app, cell phone, tablet, etc., please press the ellipsis, then interpretation, and then choose your language. Finally, click on mute original audio to not hear the Spanish low in the background. Headsets are available for interpretation. If you're in the meeting room, please check out a headset from the receptionist in the lobby. Buenos días, aviso por parte del intérprete. Para hacer uso del servicio de interpretación, favor de desplazarse a la parte inferior de la pantalla de Zoom, donde aparecen los controles. Haga clic en el icono de interpretación, globo terráqueo, y seleccione Spanish, español. Si está utilizando la aplicación móvil de Zoom, celular, tableta, etc., presione los puntos suspensivos, luego interpretación y luego el idioma. Si no desea escuchar el audio original en inglés en el fondo, por favor seleccione Mute Original Audio, silenciar audio original. Contamos con auriculares disponibles para el servicio de interpretación. Si se encuentra en la sala de reunión, favor de pedir auriculares con la recepcionista en el vestíbulo. Gracias. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I do want to remind everyone that this is Women's Month, and International Women's Day was only 3 days ago. So I want to congratulate all the powerful, beautiful, smart women in this room who are participating, including my iTalk members. Sorry, David. So it's great to see that. When I first started on iTalk, I was the only woman on this committee. So it's nice to see the diversity. So, okay. So I'd like to take a moment to acknowledge the land that we call home. The tribal nations of San Diego region have historically faced injustices. We acknowledge the harmony that existed between the land and nature and its original peoples, who have since endured displacement, persecution, and systematic oppression. We pay our respect to the unceded territory and homelands of the 18 tribal nations in our region, the most in any county in the United States. From our cultural groups, the Kumeyaay, the Diguiano, the Luciano, the Cupeño, and the Coilla. This land, that's a mouthful. This land has nourished, healed, protected, and embraced them for many generations in a relationship of balance and harmony. As members of SANDAG community, we acknowledge this legacy. We aspire to learn from Indigenous traditional knowledge and experiences in undoing the injustices of the past. Now, please join me in the Pledge of the Allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, with liberty and justice for all.
Very good. Okay, I will now call for the clerk to confirm that we have a quorum today. Please call for attendance.
Thank you, Chair. We do have a quorum this morning. Did you want to do a roll call also?
I would like to, yes.
Okay, just a moment. Apologies.
Did I stump you, clerk?
So sorry, I lost my
No worries.
document with everyone's titles. I'll just go with names for now.
Okay.
Vice Chair Sunny House,
Here.
Miriam Babaki,
Here.
Lorraine Alquist,
Present.
Jacqueline Appleton Dean,
Here.
David Santa-Stephen,
Present.
Lima Saft,
Here.
and Chair Rivera and our alternate Tracy Drager are absent today. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you. All right. Welcome to the March 11 Independent Taxpayers Oversight Committee, better known as ITALK meeting. And I would like to thank all staff here who have put and for their efforts to pull together this meeting and all the agenda. And thank you to everyone that's on the phone or here taking the time to join us today. So let's quickly talk about how this meeting will work. We'll take in-person public comments followed by virtual public comments. If you are a member of the public here in the room, please submit a speaker slip to the clerk. For those who are virtual, please continue to raise your virtual hand at the right time. I want to make sure everyone knows that public participation is possible in person and via Zoom, and we welcome that. All right, let's get started. Our agenda today has, okay, before we go, I guess, to the agenda, let's take public comments. Are there any public comments at this time?
Thanks, Chair. If you're a member of the public who'd like to speak on items not on the agenda, please raise your hand now. So far, I see one. We'll start with the phone number ending in 3731. You can go ahead.
Very good.
Hey there, truth, frankly, today's agenda looks incredibly boring, but I'm calling in to keep this committee in check because I want to address the nonsense that went down at the last meeting. Board members, just like in previous iterations, failed to thoroughly question deeper on behalf of public concerns. And particularly, I'm referring to the train wreck surrounding the sudden introduction of a brand new tactic used by SANDAG for the very first time, AB 3090. Don't get me wrong, there were some good questions, but nobody questioned why staffer Michelle Smith falsely claimed SANDAG used AB 3090 before when it was later clarified by CFO Don that SANDAG never used AB 3090 before. Mistakes happen, but that was no mistake. That was staff trying to push through their own desires by the power of suggestion and phone need. If AB 3090 had simply been transparently presented as an ask with full pros and cons and cost benefits weighed publicly, there wouldn't have been a problem, but that's not what happened. Michelle suggested there was no con, when in the next breath she admitted that none of that TransNet funding would be available for at least 2 years. It didn't even sound like a certainty. It disgracefully created a behind-the-scenes and public debacle that had to be somewhat sorted out at the board of directors. Some board members got really snotty about it too, as if they had some personal agenda or stake, which was even more suspicious. So I'm demanding that you on iTalk really pay attention and start doing some linguistic math when staff is presenting something to you. Ask why. SANDAG staff may have intentionally picked a turnover time of new iTalk members, but don't allow yourselves to be played by anybody. If you hear something weird, say something. Delay an item. Ask a question a more specific way. Introduce a substitute motion. Think more like an attorney and defend San Diego County's tax dollars like your lives depend on it. Because if you don't, I will demand that the catering privileges be permanently removed, or maybe you have to come in by bicycle. And don't forget, too much inclusion can feel like exclusion, which requires more inclusion. The more you know, Manuela Aguirre. Thank you.
I think our next speaker will be Marco. You can go ahead.
Hello, good morning, Marco Espinoza. Just wanted to send best wishes and positive vibes to a productive and healthy meeting today. Thank you very much. I yield back to the chair.
Thank you. That concludes the public comments.
Thank you very much. Are there any comments from the members of iTalk? Okay, if not, we will now go to Susan Huntington, Director 2 of Financial Planning, Budget and Grants. So she's going to give us some agency updates.
Good morning, iTalk members. I'm glad to be here filling in for Mario this morning. We do have just a few agency updates to provide to you. Regarding congressional earmarks, SANDAG received $8 million in congressionally directed spending for 4 projects last last month. That includes the San Ysidro Transit Center improvements, Sereno to Miramar Phase 2, Rose Canyon Bridge replacements, and Buena Vista Lagoon enhancement projects. So $8 million. Certainly appreciative of Senator Schiff, Representative Peters, Representative Vargas, and Representative Levin for their continuous support and including these items in the federal budget. Regarding project updates, University Bikeway, SANDAG and its partners are celebrating the start of construction on the 2.8-mile University Bikeway project this morning with a groundbreaking event. This bikeway is part of the SANDAG Bike Plan Early Action Program, the EAP, that you're very familiar with. It's funded with federal, state, and local funds, including TransNet. The project is expected to take 2 years and will connect to a larger collection of bikeways through Mid-City and North Park. And finally, we have set a date for Bike Anywhere Day. Bike Anywhere Day will be Thursday, May 21st. Registration is now open. Please let us know if you're interested and we will be in touch. Pit stop applications are also open through the end of the month, March 31st. And that completes the updates. Thank you.
Thank you, Susan. Are there any public comments or any member comments for Susan? No? Okay. So let's get started with the agenda. We have 2 items in consent. Are there any questions, comments on any of these items? If not, yes, go ahead, Jacqueline.
Yeah, can we pull 3.2?
Poll 3.2.
Yeah, do you want me to ask the questions now?
No, that's fine. Okay, so we will pull that, or we will have a discussion on that. But then, if that's the case, let's just see if we can approve meeting minutes. So I'm looking for a motion to approve the minutes of the meeting from last meeting.
Motion.
Okay, Lima has moved.
I second.
Okay, Lorraine has seconded. So please call for a vote, Claire.
Thank you, Chair. If we could call for public comments before we take the vote also.
Okay, are there public comments?
If you're a member of the public who'd like to speak on the consent agenda, please raise your hand now.
Okay,
I don't see any hands, so we can go ahead and take the vote.
thank you. All right, so I think we have a motion on the table, so let's go ahead and get the vote.
Thank you. For biology, environmental science, Lorraine Alquist. Approve. For contractor construction, Jacqueline Appleton Dean.
Approve.
For public finance and budgeting, Mariam Babaki.
Yes.
For private sector CEO, Vice Chair House.
Approved.
Licensed civil traffic engineer is absent. For real estate land economics right of way, David Santasteven.
Approved.
And for licensed engineer, Lima Saft.
Yes.
We can't hear you, Lima.
Yes.
Thank you. That motion passes unanimously with those members present.
Very well. Okay, so now we can talk about item number 3.2 on the consent agenda. Are there any comments for that particular item? Any public comments? No? Okay. All right.
Don't see any hands. Thank you.
Okay, Jacqueline, go ahead. 3.2?
Yeah. I was just looking to see if there was someone to answer the question, but there he is. Yeah, so on 3.2, attachment 1, page 2, looking at the support to capital ratio, it's probably a typo, but I didn't see construction support listed.
What page again? I'm sorry.
Okay, so it's attachment 1, page 2.
Yes.
So at the top, it's the support to capital ratio.
So typically support to capital, you're right. It's the support to support the capital project. In this case, I believe it's support of the entire project compared to the capital costs.
Right, so the construction support's on the, it just wasn't listed, but I figured it was a typo. Okay.
Jacqueline, if I can interrupt, it says construction management in.
Oh, you know what?
So it
does.
says
Thank you.
environmental design, construction
Thank
management.
you. I guess
so
I
that's
was
what we've called it.
honing in on that support word. Yeah, thanks a lot. And so wondering, what are the targets that you guys are kind of looking for?
So I think for overall support, including, construction management, design and environmental, compared to the capital costs, we typically see about 40%,
Okay.
45%, something like
Are you done, Jacqueline?
No, I had a few
Go
more
ahead.
questions.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Lima has her hand up. I just want to make
Oh,
sure.
do you have a question on that one?
Go ahead.
Okay.
Let's finish.
I was going to move on, but if you had some questions on the support.
Yeah.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay.
All right. I just wanted to know, looking at how the projects are broken down in, less than 30 million, between 30 and 100, 100 and more, the support to capital ratio doesn't seem to move. I would assume that, you can probably get some, economy of scale, and that number would go down for projects, but that doesn't. I understand that it would be more expensive to support a cheaper capital project just because of the amount of work that is needed. But as the projects get more expensive, I thought it would go down, but I don't see that. Just maybe you can explain. And also, through the years, the last ones are more expensive as well.
So those are the numbers provided, but the economy of scale is there. I think when you look at projects that are less than $10 million, then you start to be that difference at 30 million to 100 million to more than 100 million. It should be more difference, but I think it's pretty on target. Did that make sense? Did my answer?
I just want to know why. That's, I understand your explanation. I am just trying to see why isn't there
Okay.
a downward
More-
percentage reduction kind of.
I could get you that information.
Okay. Jacqueline, go ahead.
Okay, so kind of keeping with the support to capital ratio, but also looking at the bikeway projects. And so it looks like the capital projects are kind of right on that 40 to 45%, sometimes trending up from that. But the bike projects are, much higher than that. So what's kind of the remedy? What's the solution to bring those in line? Maybe the question is, why are they so high? What have you been finding? And then what's the remedy to bring those in line? Because you still have, I can't add that quickly, but a third of the miles that out of 77.1 miles, you still have like a third of that to go. So just wondering what some of the strategies are to bring it down.
That's we're looking into all options, right? And I think the economy of scale plays a big part in the bike projects where.
David, I'm sorry. Can you get closer to the mic? I can't.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you.
What we're finding out that the support on the support side, when we're working with cities and we're working on guest cities right away, the support cost, we underestimated how much it was going to cost, and that hits the support side of the column. And so if we're working near train tracks, the flagging also hits the support side of it. So we're really looking to see if it's an avoidable cost, and maybe it belongs in the capital side, right? But there's an avoidable cost of doing business on the capital side. But we're trying to be more efficient with our bike projects. I don't have a good answer for you. It's just for a $2 million bike capital project, the support cost is gonna be higher than our target, 45-50%.
Wow.
45%.
Would there be any opportunity to combine projects? And you've probably looked at that.
Mhm.
They're, I don't know, 20 miles away from each other. Maybe that's not such a good solution, but
I'll give you an example. For recent advertised projects that were pretty close together, it's still far apart, but close together. We tried to combine the construction management into one contract, so they could do both projects at the same time. So we're trying to look at those opportunities to bring down that support cost ratio.
okay. Well, I'll be interested to see next year's support, and hopefully we can see a trending down. And then there was, let's see, on the construction contracts, this is back, sorry, I'm going back to attachment 1, page 2. The next box down was construction contracts, construction versus engineers estimates. And there's a note that it's only reflects traditional design bid build projects. So where do you capture information like this for a non-traditional contract? Does that make sense?
Yep.
Dave? Okay.
I do not know the answer.
Okay.
But are there non-traditional for this bikeway program?
Well, this was major corridors.
Oh,
and
I'm
there's
sorry. Okay.
Bikeways. So
Okay, so you're back
I
on.
think that there are some non-traditional.
Yeah.
And there's also like job order contracts and things like that. I just wondered
Sure.
where that information would be in the report, or if there's another report.
So it's not a total cost.
Okay. Great.
Hi, good morning.
Hi.
We haven't historically included other types of delivery methods such as CMGC projects, because in those instances, we bring on the construction manager early on and we're going through negotiations. So we haven't felt like including that would kind of maybe not go as well with the design bid build process where you have a true comparison of the engineer's estimate pre and post bid. So we have excluded those traditionally from these reports, but we do have that data and could make that available if desired.
I can totally appreciate that. And I understand that the numbers aren't going to work out exactly the same. And, but I guess what I'm kind of hinting at is, especially with the bikeway projects, are those other methodologies being looked at? So are there non-traditional methodologies being looked at? And I can't see numbers, so I don't know if there's a savings. In other words, would there be a benefit in the support versus construction ratios if there was some kind of non-traditional construction jobs going out? And I don't know the answer to that because I don't have the data. Yes.
Yeah, I wanted to let you know, a separate effort, we're developing a process for evaluating delivery methods for all of our projects, including the bike program. So it will be, a quantitative analysis that looks at, the costs of the different delivery methods, the risks. It will quantify the risks as well so that we can select the best delivery method for each project. And so we are right now running through like a kind of guinea pig with a different project, a grade separation project, to see how the process works. But moving forward, it's something we're looking to apply to the active transportation program as well.
Danielle, do you have a timeline for that? Do you know when?
Getting everything rolled out by this fall.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
And there's a bigger conversation with the bike program that's happening, right? But where as you see, we've got about 20-something miles yet to deliver. And so what is the best strategy to deliver those projects? Is it through a grant program? Is it, do we still keep that program in SANDAG and maybe see it through environmental or see it through design and hand it off to the host cities? That discussion is still going on. As far as alternative methods, you know, CMGC is typically for big projects, right? But JOCs are a good candidates for bike projects. We did take a look at it in one of our projects that we recently put out to bid and determined that it was not going to provide significant cost savings. And we do have a set of rules for JOC, and it was going to be right on the line of going over the allowed amount for a JOC contract.
Can you, for the purpose of public and everyone that doesn't know all the acronyms, explain the JOC?
JOC is a job order contract. That's a
Good.
method of contracting
Yes,
a specific contractor for various types of improvements.
very good. Jacqueline, do you have more?
Yeah, so just right off the top of your head, do you know if CMGC or job order contract or any other methodologies have, what is the effect on the support to capital ratio?
On the top of my head, I can't.
Okay, so you don't know if it brings it down or if it adds to it, or if it's just kind of lumped in a different category potentially.
And I'm sure we have the numbers. We could come
Okay.
back with that.
Okay. All right.
So I think really what Jacqueline is trying to determine is we don't have a full picture. It's not, you know, it's kind of apples and oranges. So if there's a better way for this committee to be able to have a full picture of these ratios and how it works would be great. I don't know how you will accomplish that, but if this other program that Danielle is talking about, or, you know, it'd be nice to have that information as well. So since you are expanding and diversifying your delivery methods, so very good. Anything
I was
else?
going to add
Yeah.
one more thing.
Yes.
On the bike program and support to capital, I can say that the data represented there aren't any CMGC or JOC projects in the bike program right now. So
Yeah.
there's all the data is for design, bid, build. But when you see that less than $10 million bike category and that 103%, part of why that is so much higher than those over $10 million is because that's only representative of 2 bike projects. Most of our bike projects now are well over $10 million. And so the 2 projects captured in that small category are Robinson Bikeway, which is one of our oldest projects that the environmental document worked on that CIP covered all of the North Park Mid-City projects. So there's a large environmental cost in that project with a small capital cost. So that kind of skews that category to be a little bit higher. And then our Central Avenue Bikeway is the other second project that falls. So it's a smaller data set. Now, years back, 5-10 years ago, we had more projects in that category, but most of the bike projects now fall into the over $10 million category.
Okay.
Okay. Thanks. I appreciate that.
Any other questions, Jacqueline?
No, I think that's it.
Okay, Lima, do you still have a question? Go ahead.
Thank you. I'm looking at attachment 2 for bikeways and kind of in the same line, but for construction versus engineer's estimate. I see that year after year for the last 3 years, the cost is coming way higher than the engineer's estimate. How come we haven't caught up to see what is the gap? What is it that we're missing in the engineer's estimate that they're costing so much more?
I appreciate the question, and that was one of our top things to get a handle on for this next fiscal year. I'm happy to report that the last 3 bid openings were within 10% of the engineer's estimates and even 5%. So there's a big improvement. Next year, you'll see a big improvement on that.
Did you figure out what it was? Why it
The
was
cost.
so much higher? Or
And
nothing, not one thing in particular?
Right, and I should defer to our economists, but mostly I think that there is a balancing going on right now that we don't see. There's a lot more competition. We see more bidders in our projects, and we see a flattening of that inflation. I'm not an inflation.
So it's not that you have missed some items and they just brought it to it. It's just the economy has played its
I
role.
think it's a little bit of both. We sharpen our pencils and increase the budget where we had to, and the market just we caught up.
All right. And one more question on the same attachment. This is about the projects advertised. At least it's shows that 33% of milestones have been accomplished, but 67 have not been. Do we know why?
So I think projects, especially bike projects, have been getting delayed and pushing the milestones, especially for the advertisement and award. As to why, you see I'm struggling here because it's just the nature of those bike projects that again, we're in a host city, and so we need to conform to the host city's expectations, and so sometimes those plans get worked through their expectations. So.
Yes.
So can I add here, David? So on the first page of attachment two of the projects are shown under this section called Bikeway Miles and Final Design with the City of San Diego. So the Central Avenue Bike and the Orange Bikeway, those were two that missed the advertised date. So our staff has been working, like David is saying, with the City of San Diego to get approval on those projects so that we can go out to advertise. And you'll see that the advertised milestone date is within, it has come back out of the City of San Diego's permitting process and review process, and we do expect those to move forward.
Okay, maybe the milestones need to be more reasonable. I don't know. It just looks like we are having more milestones missed than actually met. That's all.
Traditional, historically, this has been an issue, and I think SANDAG, ITALK has been questioning this for many years, but I think SANDAG has taken efforts to try to resolve, especially the permitting issue with the City of San Diego. That has been kind of one of the biggest problems. So I'm not sure how successful you have been if you're still missing milestones. Are there anything else that can be done?
So when I came in, one of the things that was to partner more with the City of San Diego to expedite some of this, and you'll see an improvement next year's report.
Okay, so you're working on that, David.
Yes.
Okay, we'll hold you to it.
Okay.
Any other questions by ITALK members? Okay. All right. Thank you, David. We will move on now. We are on item number 4, which is the FY 2018, 2021, and 2024 TransNet Triennial Performance Audit recommendations. And this is our quarterly update, which will be presented by Shanae Pickney-Forrest. Go ahead, Shanae.
Good morning. So Shanae Pickney-Forrest, Director of Internal Controls. I want to provide a brief overview of the status of the TransNet audit recommendations to date. Before doing so, I do want to publicly acknowledge the work and diligence of the various staff who are the recommendation owners. They are continuing to review and respond to the recommendations, but I also want to note that they're responding not just as a check-off item to kind of get these off of the to-do list, but more so they're being very deliberate about how the recommendations are improving and impacting our ongoing work. So for the overview of the 92 recommendations included, 72 have been completed to date, and currently 20 are in progress. So for 2018, we've closed 41, and the last one we are presenting this morning for implementation consideration. For 2021, we've completed 16. There are 10 remaining, 4 of which we are presenting to the committee for implementation. And then for 2024, staff has completed 15 with 9 currently in progress, of which 5 we are presenting today to the committee for implementation consideration. So there are a total of 10 recommendations in the packet for consideration. I do want to provide a few notes on the remaining recommendations, the outstanding recommendations. So these are, there's roughly 9 or 10, and I've bucketed, I can never say that word. I've grouped them into 3 groups. So performance metrics and tracking, the bike EAP coordination, and then the presentation regarding the plan of finance. So for items related to the dashboard metrics and program tracking, this involves some of the items related to the dashboards and internal spreadsheets. What we're doing internally right now is working to configure a single source of data that report is being pulled from. So that's taking some effort. We're hoping to have that done by the end of the fiscal year. So we put a June 30 date on those. As it relates to some of the EAP items, one item I want to note, since it was just in discussion regarding the bike permits, the recommendation is due for closure. The original date was 6/30/2026, with SANDAG working with the city of San Diego on the permitting process. So those conversations are currently in place. And then there was one related to the plan of finance and having to let the rotation go forward to present to the board. And so once that is presented to the board, we can bring that back for implementation closure. And with that, I can answer any questions the committee may have on the 10 items we've submitted.
Okay, first of all, are there any public comments?
Thank you. We do have one public comment. Michael Duncan, you can go ahead. Is he not? Okay. My apologies. Michael's not actually a member of the public. I don't see any hands from the public.
Very good. Are there any comments by ITALK members or questions?
Before we start, you mentioned numbers of items that you're putting up for decision today or for the recommendations today, but I didn't see all of those. Some of them have a deadline of December of 26 as opposed as today, like for year 2024, items 23 and 24 are not, or is the action to move it to approve in December? Is that the action? 23 and 24
hold on.
for fiscal year 2024.
Is the
Target is 12/31/26.
Yeah.
Well, we won't be looking at those. They weren't a part of this rotation.
They
Yeah,
were on the list, or maybe I'm looking at the wrong
The
list.
table is just to show the overall.
This one is, yes, but
Right.
you have a list of items that you are asking for the board to
Okay.
take an action on. And those were included. That's why I had it on my list. And then I was like, oh, it's a different date.
So you have 24, 20 items, 23, 24 as a, oh yeah, I see it here.
Well, those are ready for completion. There's no need for us to wait until December to.
I guess what
present
she's
them.
saying is your table does not reflect the completion date. It shows end of the year, but you're bringing it forth right now. Is that what you're asking?
Just
That's all.
Oh,
Your
okay.
table date is not up to date. That's all.
Okay, we'll take a look.
You jumped ahead. That's great.
That's why I'm like, okay, I'll take that confusion.
You
since we're
can
beforehand.
you can update that next time.
Okay.
Don't knock it, Lima. She's coming ahead further.
Are we not here for accountability?
Absolutely, absolutely. No, it looks like the table just needs to be updated after this meeting. She'll put a new one on, new
Okay,
date.
thank you, Lima.
Are there any other questions?
We are going
Yeah.
to go one by one, right?
I'm sorry.
We're going to go one by one.
No, you,
each
if
item.
you're not, yeah, go ahead if you have more. Yes.
Go ahead.
Do you have more, Lima? Let's finish yours first.
I'm going to.
Okay. Go ahead, Jacqueline.
Yeah, I was unclear on how we were going to go through all of these or if we were going to go through all of them. You just want each one of
So-
us to.
Okay, so you have questions on each of them.
I don't. I just have questions on 3 of them.
Let's just go ahead and do the ones we don't, because she's not reporting or she's not presenting all of them one
Right,
by one. But if
right.
you have questions, go
Right.
ahead.
Okay.
Let's just
So
jump in.
on the year 2018 7B, I guess I was just a little confused. We talk about the project track database. Is that the same as the dashboard or not the same as the dashboard?
It is not the same.
Not the same as the dashboard.
Correct.
All these names, from my past are like, wait a minute. Okay. And then
So
it
project
says,
track tracks the TransNet dollars that
Okay,
the locals
okay.
spend and other agencies spend. So that is really our regional tracking specific to the TransNet funds.
okay. And it's being updated, revamped.
It is.
Okay.
Yes. And so this item is really about annually, this committee receives the local streets and roads report. What
Okay.
have they done with the TransNet LSR funds?
Okay.
And so this item is about updating Project Track so that we can get that report through Project Track and not through, as you have received them in the past, like surveys. There are these Word documents that the locals need to submit, and you get this big packet, and it's usually around the September timeframe. We're updating Project Track so that the locals can input that information at the same time that they're letting us know about their funding and how they're spending it.
Okay. And I think that's where my confusion came in. The audit recommendation and then the justification was not jiving for me, just because I wasn't here when the recommendation was made. And so I was like, I don't know what this means. And then it says, coming down to the justifications for completion, it just says, close the recommendation since current reports are providing. So I was wondering if we could just, and maybe there's too many, but spell out what some of those current reports are that are providing this information. Is that possible?
Sure.
So the report.
Or is it?
Sorry,
is
so it is
on-
that report that you get in the September timeframe. And so
Perfect.
it's one committee report that you get. And so what we're saying is you already getting that information.
Okay.
It's just in a different format. We want to streamline and create efficiencies through the Project Track system. Since the locals are going there anyways to talk about their funding, they should be updating the reasons and how they're using those funding in the system rather than having staff go out and do a coordination effort to gather the data separately.
Okay, okay. I mean.
So we're working right now. We haven't actually been able to implement. We're working with the software developers on the back end, but we haven't asked them to use the system yet. And we won't be able to ask them to use the system for a couple of years because it wasn't set up for the 2025 RTIP. So we can't set it up until the 2027 RTIP.
Yeah, I totally understand all that.
Oh, okay.
I'm just saying that the justification for completion. So you're asking us, okay, go ahead and close this out because we're doing this. That's going to take a while, but we're already
Getting the
providing this
reports.
information and it just says current reports. So I'm just asking, can we specify what those reports are just for history purposes? And if we come back to this recommendation, we know that's how we're getting the info. And that's why ITalk closed it out, knowing that Project Track is has a longer lead time.
We can make that update to this completion form. Absolutely.
Yeah, I think for public members as well, because they're not familiar, just in case anybody, for just transparency, it would be good to have
Just
that list of information. Anything else?
okay.
Jacqueline?
And then Let's see. What is this? So on the 2024, item number 12, and again, maybe I'm misunderstanding what the purpose is, but the audit recommendation was present proposed amendment to the board to align plan major corridor projects from the TransNet ordinance with the current 2021 regional plan as required by the TransNet ordinance. And the justification for completion, I mean, it kind of, to me, just basically says, we've moved on from the 2021 plan, we're now in 2025. But I'm wondering if the recommendation and, you know, maybe we go back on the next triennial. I don't think it should have potentially said 2021. It should have maybe just said current. And maybe that's a question for the ITAC more than
So
this.
I was on the same page as you, and I thought since we are on the subcommittee, we will bring that up with the auditors to take that up as a new item, basically. At the time, everybody was talking about 2021, and it was such a different regional plan that, you know, they made sure that that date was included because it was so different. But we definitely have an opportunity for the new audit next year or basically coming up to be able to do that.
Okay.
So that's why I
look at that one.
I didn't mind closing this
Yeah,
item because
yeah.
it is just not relevant anymore.
Same. I just wondered if on our part.
We have
okay.
that control to do that.
And then just one more, let's see. Just the next one. I think it was 2024, item 15. And it talks about develop, implement, and use a format, transparent, vetted methodology. And then it goes into how that was done, and it was actually presented at a board meeting, and it has the dates and everything of the board meeting, which I will review. I'm interested in. But I was wondering if ITAC could also maybe get that presentation.
So Susan, this is in reference to the presentation from Clint and yourself in regards to the funding strategy that was presented to the board.
Yeah, absolutely. We can bring that back as an item and we can do that.
That'd be great. Okay, thank you, Jacqueline.
That was it?
Lima, do you have any other ones?
I had one, or maybe it covers more than one item, but there were references to SOPs that have been developed and reviewed by the staff, but I'm assuming SANDAG staff. Where can we look at them, or are they finalized and available for review? And this is regarding the QA/QC as well as the risk matrix. I think these are items 4 and 5 for year 2021.
Yes, they are finalized. They are internal, but I don't necessarily have a problem with presenting it as part of a packet so that you can see that those were actually completed.
Okay, that's basically the completion is to verify that the documentation because it's not attached. So that, you know, if that can be made possible.
We can provide that.
Available.
Good. And it would be good to see how these matrices or SOPs are implemented on a specific project, just as an example to.
And in one of those recommendations, we did include a link to a meeting where that information was included.
Yeah, that was 360 pages. I could not find what I was looking for. So it would be easier if there will be like a paragraph that describes that. That's all. Thank you.
And Lima, just from my understanding, which one does this apply to specifically? You said 2021.
2021, number 4. Oh, actually 5 and 6, right? The SOPs.
SOPs are for 5 and 6 are the ones that you're looking for specifically?
Actually 4, 5, 6. So risk, risk-based approach, the peer review process, and the QA/QC.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Keep in mind, to me, one of the things I would, as a member of the subcommittee for the next audit, I would like to have our auditors review all of your documentation and just do a verification. So we'll see if that's what we could make that within scope or not. So as far as ITALC members are concerned, that audit can take care of a lot of those kinds of things as well, to just make sure once and for all we close it down. And that was kind of my question, Shanae, is all these reports, is there a depository of information that auditors could have access, the next auditors could have access to, and
Yes, all of
they will
the,
work with?
yes, all of the supporting documentation for all of these recommendations are housed in our SharePoint by audit, by
And
year.
that
by
could be made
recommendation
available.
number.
Okay.
Yes.
Very good. Dima, anything else? Okay, this is an item for a vote. So I would like to get a motion to approve these 10 items for completion and closure.
I move to approve.
Okay,
I thought that 23 and 24 were not the item.
total, well, no, they are included.
We have 10 or separate forms for each one of them. We're going to vote for them
Okay,
in
so
bulk. I don't know.
do you not, okay, if there's an item that you do not want to approve because you're not satisfied, then we can pull that. But I guess the motion is for the package to be approved. So do you have any objections? Tell me which one it is that you're not quite ready to approve yet.
I don't know if I received a satisfactory response.
Oh, you don't think you have received
Just,
satisfactory response?
Yeah.
Okay, so I think if we have follow-up documentation that can be provided to you, is that
Yeah.
acceptable, or do we want to just pull it and bring it back later? It's up to you. You have a chance to vote yes or no anyway, so.
I know. Yeah, with additional documentation, I will feel comfortable voting.
So
that
is it
possible?
So just for clarity, is it additional documentation for all 10, or I've noted for 2024, it's 4, 5, and 6. And then for 2018 to note to add the report. So that's 4 that had items.
Yeah,
with
let's clarify.
Additional information.
Are there any other information that's needed by the ITAC members?
And then just 15 coming back and giving us a presentation.
Yeah, the follow-up.
Thank you.
Yeah. May I ask about 15, like, just quickly for my own understanding? There is a list of priority or criteria that include safety, past commitments, and all of that when identifying which projects to prioritize. This is just a list, or is this in order of priority?
It's just a list.
Okay, thank you. All right.
Okay, we do have a motion by Jacqueline. Is there a second?
Second.
David seconded. So clerk, please call for a vote.
I'm sorry, Sunny.
Yeah.
So what?
Okay.
So are we bringing back all 10? Are we approving 5 and bringing back 5?
Motion was by
My
Jacqueline.
motion
What
is
is your
to
motion?
approve the package, all 10 of them.
Okay.
As this document.
With
Okay.
additional information coming back to the ITAC
Got you.
members.
Okay.
Thank you for clarifying your motion. Okay, so can we call for a vote now?
Thank you. For biology environmental, Lorena Alquist. Approve. For contractor construction, Jacqueline Appleton Dean.
Approve.
For municipal public finance and budgeting, Miriam Babaki.
Yes.
For private sector CEO, Vice Chair House.
Yes.
Chair Rivera is absent. For real estate land economics right of way, David Santa Steven.
Approve.
And for licensed engineer, Lima Saft.
Can I abstain?
Abstain?
Yeah.
Sure.
That motion does pass with 5 yeses and 1 abstention.
Very good. Thank you, and thank you for being diligent in reviewing all of this. Jacqueline, do
Can
you
I
have a
just say
comment?
one thing? I'm sorry, I should have said it at the beginning. Thank you very much. This is a lot of work. I've only been here for a year. I don't know how many, I have to go back and look how many were checked off, with a lot of information, as you said, not just checking the box. And you guys have done a great job. Thank you.
And I too want to ditto that. Shanae, I think ever since you've been here, it's made a big impact on all of these. For several years, I've been harping on why aren't these done? Why aren't these done? So the other thing I like is the fact that in your spreadsheet, you're being transparent. You crossed out the date and put the new date in. I'd like to see that continue because we want to make sure how we're doing, tracking the progress. But you've made really tremendous strides in that. So we thank you. And thanks SANDAG for providing a position like that. And we look forward to working with you most likely for the next audit. I'm sure you'll be involved in that. Very good.
Appreciate it.
Okay, let's go on. We are on item number 5, which is the draft, the draft FY27 TransNet Capital Program update. And it's being presented by Chelsea. Hi, Chelsea.
Good
Welcome
morning.
back.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
All right. Good morning, members of the ITALK. My name is Chelsea Gonzalez, and I'm the budget manager for the Financial Planning, Budgets, and Grants Department. And thank you for the opportunity to present the draft FY27 TransNet Capital Budget. This budget has been strategically developed to align with our state and federal funding guidelines, ensuring compliance with our funding partners while also advancing TransNet projects and programs. Excuse me. It is also consistent with the SANDAG Board of Directors approved project delivery strategy that was taken on November 7th, 2025. So I'll go ahead and kind of give you some highlights from the attachments that you see in your report before you today. So in attachment 1, this is a summary of the 88 active TransNet capital projects, which are at various stages of delivery from environmental through construction. And these projects cover our TransNet program of projects, the goods movement program, the bikeway program, and our comprehensive multimodal corridor plans. So the attachment provides you with the current FY26 approved budget, the proposed FY27 budget, and the total increase or decrease to the multi-year budget with the reason for that change. So as you're looking at this, just know it's not a comparison of just 26 versus FY27, but the multi-year, 10-year multi-year outlook for each project. The proposed draft TransNet budget is approximately $8.4 billion. And we're proposing a multi-year increase of $89 million to those active projects. Changes by funding sources include a $37 million increase to state funds, $30 million increase in TransNet funds, a $22 million increase in federal funds, and $288,000 increase in local funds. And just to give you a few key highlights of some of the changes you see in that attachment, we are adding $40 million for the I-805 South HOV conversion to express lanes. And this is State Solutions for Congested Corridors Program grant funding, which will now fully fund the construction phase for that project. We are also adding $32 million of future federal funds to our San Diego Lagoon double track project. And this is also to fully fund the construction phase. And in addition, we are adding $6.7 million of TransNet major corridor funds to fully fund the design of the Palomar Street rail grade separation. So these are just a few highlights, but in that attachment 1, you will see the list of all TransNet projects with any changes being proposed. And moving on to attachment 2, this will show you the capital milestones plan based on the FY27 draft budget. So we've separated it into the first page, which has the TransNet major corridors and goods movement program projects, and the second page being the bikeway program. So for TransNet major corridors and goods movement program projects, we have 16 planned milestones for FY27. 3 of those are begin construction milestones, with 1 project scheduled to open to the public. And then on the bikeway side, we have 8 planned milestones with 2 projects scheduled to begin construction and 3 projects opening to the public. The full draft FY27 budget is now posted on our website. And this represents the best information we have at this point in time. And just note that the information captured in your report today can be found in Chapter 5 of that larger budget document that also goes into some of the other programs here at SANDAG. But everything contained in this report is in Chapter 5. The executive committee discussed the budget at its March 6th meeting last Friday, and we will be taking this to our board of directors at the end of the month on March 27th. So with that, I'd be happy to take any questions that you may have for me.
Thank you, Chelsea. Are there any public comments, clerk?
I don't see any hands from the public. Thank you.
Okay. Members of iTalk? David, go ahead.
I have a question on the HOV lanes on I-5, Carlsbad, Oceanside. So will those be toll roads? Will that be a pay?
I'm going to invite, we have our corridor director for the North Coast Corridor from Caltrans, Victor Mercado. So I'm going to invite him to answer that question for you.
Good morning. So they're gonna we're gonna modernize. We're gonna convert them to express lanes. So they're gonna continue to be for carpool, and then we're gonna provide an option for single occupant vehicles to use the lanes if there's capacity in them.
Okay. So does that go a long way with paying off the bonds? And when you guys project?
There's no bonds for these projects. These projects are fully funded.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Jacqueline? Okay, Lima.
Just for me to understand, this is my second meeting here, so I just wanted to see that it's clear to me how we are using the funds. So it's possible to move some funds from between the phases. So yeah, okay, because in other funds we normally are not able to do that.
It does depend on the fund type. So there are certain grants that might be designated for only environmental design or construction. So we definitely stick within those constraints. But other local funding, TransNet funding, we have more flexibility to move between phases.
All right. And also I noticed that some of the projects have been split. And of course that would increase the support to capital ratio, but is that because of the lengthy, maybe environmental process or other reasons that they were split?
We did split our, and I don't know if this is the piece that you're referring to. We had 3 rapid projects for the SR 52, 67, and 78. They were combined with other CIPs for highway improvements. So we separated those into their own projects to better track the work being done for developing those rapid projects. So it wasn't an increase, it was just a transfer of those dedicated dollars for those specific efforts, just pulling them out of the CIPs for more transparency and to kind of track the rapids separately from the highway improvements.
Okay. And one more question, and probably maybe to Victor. Regional express lane system that is proposed to be implemented. Can you explain what that is?
That is the conversion project that we were talking about. It's the conversion from the existing HOV lanes to the express lanes.
I thought that this is the system itself that manages express lanes. Is that not?
This is the new CIP, the Regional Express Lane System implementation.
So there's going to be 2 elements. I believe this is the answer for that question, Lima. So there's going to be, we're breaking up that conversion project into two different CIPs. One of them is going to be for the civil portion of it, and the other one is going to be for the technology in the back office. So I think that's.
And that's in development already, right? The Regional
Yes,
Express.
signed.
By SANDAG or?
That is going to be, yes, SANDAG will be the implementation agency for the technology and then for the back office.
All right. And just for my curiosity, I saw that I-805 bus and shoulder demo has been completed. Is there a place where I can check the final report?
I do not have the answer for that, Lima, but I'll get that for you. David.
We're still working on the final report. We got all the numbers. We're just shifting through them and developing that final report. So
When will it be? Do you know?
I do not know, but I know we're working on it.
Thank you.
Any other comments? Jacqueline?
I do have a question. So, on the express lanes, when they're converted, and people start using them and money's collected, what color of money would that be when it's collected? What coffer does that go into?
So the money that is collected, so it's going to be, first, it's going to pay for the maintenance operation of the actual express lanes. Any excess revenue will be used for improvements on the corridor, specifically for the corridor where it was collected. Now, as far as the type of money, I don't
Okay,
know that.
so that'll be similar to, we currently have SR 125 revenue in our budget. That's separate. It's just, it's a separate fund type. So I would imagine that these will be the same, where those funds can be used based on guidelines within the corridor itself.
Okay.
So we will have additional revenue lines. So we have a revenue line in the budget now for the I-15 fast track. That's that money that's collected. And then, as Victor said, top line is to pay for the operations and maintenance of those facilities.
Okay.
So we'll have just another color.
Right.
It won't
Right.
be TransNet. It won't be
Right.
mixed
It
with
doesn't,
TransNet.
in other words, and it doesn't, if, I don't know, federal government or local, state, whatever, nobody has to get paid back is what, yeah.
Well,
Correct.
if we did any borrowing for the money, we would have
Right.
to obviously do that, but no.
Yeah. Okay.
That's
Okay.
its own.
Okay, so you track it separately for
Absolutely.
each of those corridors?
Yes,
basically.
based on the funding guidelines and the law. Thank you.
Very well. Yes, Lorraine?
And Victor, will the existing TransNet or the existing Fast Pass that is available for the I-15 be the same transponder for the I-5?
We don't know yet. We're still developing what technology we're going to be used, but we're aiming to have the same technology as on all our express lanes in the region. But that's our goal.
Okay,
There's
thank you.
also interoperability requirements so that the systems have to be able to be used in Orange County and
Yes.
within California. And so, you know, while it may not look exactly like Fast Track, it's going to be convenient.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Any other questions by ITAC members? Okay. This was a discussion item, so we will move on to item number 6, which is the SANDAG grant program overview and biennial status update. And we have Tueri, and is that Goldie? No. Okay, Goldie, go ahead.
Hey, good morning. ITALK members. Again, my name is Tuere Faola, and I'm the Deputy Director for Sustainable Communities, and I'm joined here today by Goldie Herman, who is going to be presenting a grants program overview as well as our biannual status update. So the first thing I just want to start off is saying is I know I'm not usually a normal face that when we come to talk about grants to any of our committees, but I wanted to just say that there's been a couple of changes that have happened over the last 6 or so months within our some of our departments. We recently moved the grants administration and distribution activities into regional planning. And so with moving that in there, we thought it would be a great opportunity to come and not only give you a biannual update, but talk to you about some of those recent changes and some of the things that we've been exploring now that we've merged our two sections together. And one of the other reasons that we really thought it was a great opportunity when we were moving the grants administration and distribution activities into regional planning is a lot of the activities that Goldie and the team do when it comes to distributing those grants and giving them out to our different partners, they are implementation often for our regional plan or for things like our coordinated plan, or we're working very closely together when we're putting together the call for projects and talking about the criteria for each of those programs. So Goldie's going to give you a quick overview and just a reminder of all of the different grants, TransNet and non-TransNet, just so that you can understand the full breadth of what we do. And then I'll dive into some of those specific program changes before we give you the biannual update. So I'll turn it over to Goldie.
Thank you, Tori. Morning, everyone. My name is Goldie Herbon. I'm a grants program administrator on the grants team. And just to go over all of the grant programs that we facilitate, SANDAG manages 9 grant programs that disseminates grant fundings throughout the region. 4 of those grant programs are funded through TransNet solely. First, we have the Smart Growth Incentive Program, or SGIP, and then we have, let's click them all, sorry. And then we have the Active Transportation Grant Program. These are the 2 programs on the left-hand slide. These programs provide funding for local cities and the county to support infrastructure investments that create more compact, walkable, bikeable, and transit-oriented communities. These create sustainable communities. And since 2009, these programs have awarded over $140 million to close to 200 projects. And then on the top right, we have the Environmental Mitigation Program Land Management Grant, or EMP-LMG. This grant program provides funding to nonprofits, local jurisdictions, and other governmental agencies like land managing agencies to help maintain and enhance native habitats within our regional habitat preserves, and also provides funding to protect endangered species. We've completed 10 cycles of EMP and have awarded 136 projects. And then lastly, we have the Senior Mini Grant Program, or SMG for short. This grant program provides funding to local governments, nonprofits, and healthcare providers to support specialized transportation services for older adults. Over $27 million has been awarded across 9 cycles, and 97 projects have been funded throughout the region. So now I want to speak briefly about the grant programs that are not TransNet funded. So there are 5 additional grant programs that we administer that distribute state and federal dollars that meet multiple goals of the regional plan. So starting with the top slide, we have Access for All, or AFA, that's funded by the state through the California Public Utilities Commission. That funds transportation programs for services for individuals with disabilities. The program provides on-demand wheelchair accessible transportation throughout the region and has awarded close to $5 million in 2 cycles. And then we have similarly in Section 5310 program, this is funded through the Federal Transit Administration and provides transportation services for older adults and individuals with disabilities. Both services provide critical transportation to help individuals reach the key destinations like medical appointments, grocery stores, and social centers. And then in the top middle, we have the Regional Active Transportation Program. This program is funded through both state and federal dollars, and it supports local public agency projects that promote active modes of transportation. 7 cycles of regional ATP have been implemented with over $145 million awarded to 42 projects. We are currently in the midst of developing the regional ATP for cycle 8. And then the 2 grant programs on the bottom are newer grant programs. First one is a Housing Acceleration Program, which is funded through the state. It supports local jurisdictions, fund planning and capital projects that accelerate housing development. And then finally, our last and newest grant program is a Flexible Fleet Grant Program, which provides federal funding to support transportation services that expand shared mobility, travel choices, and enhance transit connections and reduce greenhouse gas emissions and vehicle miles traveled. This program was approved by the board on February 27th, so a couple weeks ago, and they approved the release of the call for projects. So SANDAG uses a call for projects process to distribute grant program funding, and the overall process and the key steps are highlighted on this slide. ITALK is involved in 2 main steps that I'll underscore on the slide. Those are steps 1 and step 5. So first, the call for projects development, which is step 1, is where the program goals, objectives, eligibility, and evaluation criteria are discussed and considered for incorporation into the call. This is the most critical step in the process of our grants program and where you can shape and modify the guidelines to achieve your ultimate goal. We bring the draft call for projects to you and provide input on eligibility and the use of TransNet funding. This helps ensure that the program meets the requirements of the ordinance. After the call for projects is approved for the board, thereafter, no changes can be made. So once the call for projects is issued in step 2, applicants have 90 days to submit an application. Applications are then received and evaluated against the scoring criteria that was approved by the board of directors in step 3. In step 4, the funding recommendations are developed by grant staff consistent with the call for projects. In step 4, and finally, ITALK is asked to review the projects recommended for funding in step 5. The policy advisory committees and board are asked to approve the results of the process to allow for projects to be implemented after ITALK's review. So during project implementation, which is step 6, grant staff provides ITALK with the status of grant projects during the project term. We provide that information in a biannual status update. And ITALK is also asked to consider amendments to grant projects. And the most recent biannual status update is included in attachment 1 of this item. So now I'll turn it back over to Tueri to talk about the grant program work plan. Yeah.
Thank you so much for the presentation. It would be nice to actually see the timeline, how long each step takes and the whole process as well, right? And how often does the cycle start? Every July, every 2 years?
Sure. It's not an exact science, but we have a range of dates for each of these steps. And I'll be happy to provide that to you as a follow-up to this meeting.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
Okay. And again, thank you. Feel free to interrupt and ask us questions if we can make sure that we're providing clarity to you as we're going throughout the presentation. But as you can see, there's a lot of different programs that SANDAG administers, both from our TransNet funded programs as well as others that Goldie mentioned that we get state and federal funding for. And so when we merged or moved the grants distribution team into planning, we sat down and really kind of looked at a lot of the different work that we do and thought about how we might really look at how we can improve how we do administer our programs, how we can make sure we're meeting all of the funding requirements and identify any potential risks and how we might better mitigate for that. So when the team came together, this slide kind of highlights some of those high priority action items that we identified that we want to start working on immediately as we have continue to move through our grants process. The first one here on the slide is process improvements, and this is an area that we have already started implementing within SANDAG, and some of the recommendations came out from our more recent Smart Growth Incentive Program call for projects that Goldie will talk about in just the next slide or two here. But the implementing process improvements includes things like streamlining our application process, using automation more often, reducing the use of spreadsheets so that we can reduce errors that might be integrated into that process, and then really providing thorough discussions and on any type of changes that we may have to programs so that the committee members as well as the public very much understand any proposed changes that might be coming to a future cycle or a current one that maybe wasn't integrated in past cycles. And then as we're implementing all of these new process improvements, we do have a standard operating procedures for the grants program. And so we'll be making updates to that. This is a document that will outline and already does outline our entire grants process that Goldie went over and a lot of the other details that are included that were not in that very high level slide. Really making sure that we are staying current, that all staff are operating from the same guidelines and understanding. And then because there are so many different grant programs that our grants team administers, and now that they are integrated with regional planning, it gives the opportunity for us to supplement and add staff when needed for different capacity reasons, and then integrate them in very seamlessly with having a process documented for them to follow. Developing a risk management framework is something else that we had identified to really make sure that we're able to not only follow all of the obligations and the different risks that come along with each of the programs, but really making sure that we are looking at past best practices, things that we've learned through data and where we've identified risk already within our programs and how we might be able to mitigate that. So putting together a risk framework is something that we're doing as one of our high priority action items. And then evaluating strategic partnerships is an area that we're also exploring. And hope to have further discussions with this committee and some of our other policy advisory committees on how we might do this. Many of our grant programs are oversubscribed. We have more people who want to apply and receive the funding than we have money to give out and to servicing our community and their needs. And so we want to look at opportunities where we can partner with different organizations, philanthropic, who can maybe either leverage some of those funds or even some of they may have, really better ideas when it comes to some of the administration. We've already explored some of this in non-TransNet funded grant programs. The newer one that Goldie mentioned, the Housing Acceleration Program, we did work with a nonprofit to leverage their administration skills as well as philanthropic for the Housing Acceleration Program for Housing Trust Fund. And they are doing it with complying with all of the state requirements that are needed for that grant program. So really looking at opportunities, how we can leverage that and bring more funding to our region. And then the last bullet here is for our specialized transportation grant program and really looking at how we can provide better alignment with our coordinated plan. The specialized transportation grant program is often funded through TransNet senior mini grant funding, but also it is coupled with our FTA section 5310. And so wanting to make sure that we are looking at the recently adopted, and it was adopted in December of 2025 for the coordinated plan, looking at how we can make sure we're taking the recommendations that came out of that and aligning it with our program, and then also looking at any of the potential risks with that program and how we might better improve it is something that we're working on as one of our near-term actions. So we'll look forward to continuing to come back to this committee and others and giving you updates on the progress for these different action items. And we welcome suggestions or ideas that you may have for other things that maybe we haven't put here on the screen as we're beginning to really just kind of look and take a deep dive into our grants program. So I'm going to turn it back over to Goldie, who can give you a biannual status update and also update you on the Smart Growth Cycle 6.
Great, thank you. So as mentioned earlier, one way that the grants team keep you all apprised of the progress of projects that are implemented with TransNet dollars is through a biannual status update. And that's what the segment that I'm moving into now. These updates provide a snapshot of how programs are performing and highlight completed projects that are on the watch list for performance issues, and if there's any concerns about compliance with grant requirements. So that's attachment 1, and it covers the 4 TransNet funded grant programs that I talked about earlier. We also bring to you amendment requests in which grantees seek extensions to their project schedule that cannot be approved by staff due to the level of authority as laid out in Board Policy 35. So this update will be that I'll be providing you in the next few slides can be referenced in attachment 1. First, I want to give you an update on the Smart Growth Incentive Program. So during this reporting period, which is between July 1 and December 31st, the Cycle 6 Smart Growth Award recommendations were determined and presented to policy advisory committees, and the funding recommendations were ultimately taken to the Board of Directors. The recommendations were bifurcated by project category, as illustrated on this slide. So we took planning and climate action plan projects first, followed by capital projects. And this was a result of a reevaluation that was prompted. That was a result of an identification of projects that were scored out of order in October. So just to jog your memory a bit, we took project recommendations for Cycle 6 to ITALC on September 10th, and we were slated to go to RPC on October 3rd, but right before that meeting, this scoring discrepancy was identified. So we had to retract all the applications, and between the months of October and November, we reevaluated over 50 projects, and we made sure that all of the quantitative scoring was correct. And the planning and climate action plan projects there were changes, but it didn't result in scoring order changes. So all of the projects that were originally recommended are still recommended. There were order changes to capital. So I'll go into that a bit now. So the planning and climate action projects were taken to the Transportation Committee for recommendation on December 5th. At that December 5th meeting, TC was presented with ITALK's September 10th discussion on the planning projects. And you all, if you recall, recommended that the board of directors reject the City of Escondido's planning project called the Affordable Housing Trust Fund Planning Project. And recall that was primarily a housing project without a transportation nexus. Therefore, that was not recommended to proceed with award. So TC at the December 5th meeting recommended that the projects go to the board without the inclusion of Escondido's project due to that lack of a transportation component. However, that motion did have a caveat. They allowed Escondido the opportunity to submit a transportation component before that board meeting. But Escondido never took them up on that offer, and the board ultimately recommended the Planning and Climate Action Plan projects without Escondido's project. So that was what was approved for award. And then for the capital projects, those were taken to the executive committee at a later date, again, because scores were reevaluated and things shifted. Some projects moved up, some projects moved down. We also took to the executive committee some alternative funding options for consideration. So for some context, when we established the amount to release in the Smart Growth Call for Projects, that was back in 2024. And TransNet dollars continues to accumulate. So there is more money in the bank account, if you will. And now we understand that local jurisdictions are really struggling to fund their capital projects due to various reasons, including a lack of grant money coming from federal agencies. And so we understood this need and we wanted to present these funding options or scenarios to the executive committee. Ultimately, the executive committee recommended that their recommendation 1 go directly to the board, and they recommended to the board that they increase the Smart Growth Cycle 6 allocation for the capital category up to $46.2 million to award the capital projects based on the reevaluation of projects, 1 award for each agency that applied that met the minimum scoring criteria, and an additional full award for National City and a partial award for National City. So that encompasses 16 projects. They recommended 16 projects to the board. On January 23rd, apologies if I didn't mention this, the executive committee, we went to them on January 9th. And then we went to the board on January 23rd, and the board approved a funding recommendation for 15 projects because National City rejected that partial award. They couldn't move forward in completing that project with a partial award. So on the next 3 slides, I'm just going to quickly run through the projects that were awarded funding. So up on the slide are the planning projects that were awarded funding. 14 projects were recommended for award to 9 local jurisdictions. Note Escondido is not on here. Then you have the Climate Action Plan projects. There's 7 projects that were recommended for award and 14 jurisdictions were funded. And that's because the Solana Beach project is a regional project with 7 additional partners in addition to Solana Beach. And then lastly, we have the capital project awards. There were 15 capital construction projects recommended for award, and those will go to 14 jurisdictions. Of note, you see National City towards the top with the 2 fully funded projects. And we're, again, exhausting $44.5 million here for the capital construction category. So the biannual report covers the project status through December. Oh, yeah. Oh, of course, sorry.
I have a quick question. When we award these or you guys award these projects, how long do they have to complete them? I'm looking at the planning projects, for example.
Great question. So planning projects, it depends if they are doing the planning work in-house or contracting the work. If it's in-house, projects have to be completed, I believe, in 2 years. I'm going to confirm this and email you as well, or the ITALK crew. And if you're getting a consultant for planning work, it's 3 years. For capital projects, construction needs to be complete within 3.5 years, so 42 months.
If I could ask everyone, just hold your questions because we got to go through public comments and then we'll come back to the ITAL.
Okay.
Go ahead, finish.
Sure thing. This is the last slide. So for this biannual reporting period, which ended December 31st, we had 19 active grant projects. One was in ATGP, 8 was under EMP, 4 under Smart Growth, and 6 were under the Senior Mini Grant or SMG. And attachment 1 will provide all the details on these active projects, indicating for you how much of their grant awards have been expended to date or through December 31st. 2 Smart Growth Incentive Program projects were completed during this reporting period. One was the City of Escondido's General Plan Amendment and Environmental Review Project, which resulted in amendments to Escondido's General Plan safety elements and created a new environmental justice element for that general plan. And the second completed project was the City of San Diego's Mid-City Community Smart Growth Study Areas Project, which delivered studies to existing and planned smart growth and employment areas to expand housing and mobility options in the mid-city communities. Additional information on these projects can be found in your attachment 1. And then 3 projects were on the watch list for reasons that fall into 2 main categories: labor compliance and invoicing errors. So there are 2 Smart Growth Incentive Program projects that have labor compliance violations, and they're under investigation by the Department of Industrial Relations. These projects will remain on the watch list until the investigations are closed out by the DIR. I'm happy to report that the DIR just closed one out last week, so one gets removed, yay. And then the Senior Mini Grant, for the Senior Mini Grant program, 1 project is on the watch list and it's for invoicing errors. And staff are working with this grantee to bring them into compliance and is offering technical assistance where needed. And then we also have 1 ATGP project, the City of Carlsbad grantee, that requested an amendment, and it was approved during this reporting period. And we're working with Carlsbad staff to execute that amendment. That concludes our presentation. We're happy to take additional questions from the public and the ITALK. As a reminder, we're looking for your input on our work plan. We're hoping you can let us know what you'd like us to work on, if there are areas you would like us to consider or discuss when we start engaging the task force over the coming year. If there's any information you'd like to include in future quarterly or, biannual reports, we're happy to receive that feedback also.
Thank you, Tweri and Goldie. Great report. Glad it's all combined and consolidated. It sounds like it'd be more efficient. So are there any public comments?
Thank you, Vice Chair. We do have one public comment, Cesar Javier. If you're online and would like to speak on this item, please raise your hand now.
Cesar and Purita, good morning and thank you for this privilege to join you and to think together and see what we could do to focus on saving lives, not only physical development, on mobility and circulation, but something else, something very important for others. We have been reviewing, we have been learning and teaching all about this. And we dream that a policy on granting be given flexibility, if only to address priority crisis like the Tijuana River pollution crisis. What mobility, circulation, support in the cleaning of the mess, and prayerfully for the victims who need cure, care, nutrition, clean water, clean food, so we would prevent casualties. How much is granted or how much money is intended for the climate change program? Is the Tijuana crisis included in that, or just purely roads and highways? We need a special kind of transit to bring in and out what we call the toxic water, toxic air, probably toxic land.
Thank you. Your time has expired. Our next speaker will be Truth. You can go ahead.
Hey there, over 100 projects costing hundreds of millions of tax dollars. Were they all in the city of San Diego or Encinitas? How many were in Borrego Springs? How many were in Coronado? Does active recreational transportation, not actual commuter transportation, have geographic quotas or tracking? On the housing accelerator, where were the public surveys saying people were interested in having their communities gentrified with cost of living increase while quality of life goes down? Just to please some crazy state dictators. Because really the only ones who support this stuff are the out-of-touch politicians, not we, the people who actually live the bad policies that get approved here and elsewhere. The stupid growth program not only had faced discrepancies, aka staff mistakes, but then the scoring criteria suddenly changed at the ending thanks to the executive committee. What fun at the SANDAG circus. San Diego's mid-city debacle should be on the watch list because people have gone out of business thanks to construction flubs, and the streets are now a hideous obstacle course. I don't see how that is a SANDAG project that could have ever been approved. So a risk framework sounds interesting. It's probably needed as soon as this Friday's directors meeting, because I already see where that's going to go. But overall, I've been very impressed with the committee's performance today. Congratulations. I've been listening to the entire meeting and have actually learned a lot. So thanks and very good job. Keep up the good work.
That concludes the public commenters.
Okay, thank you everyone for your comments. ITALK members, do you have any comments or questions?
I actually have a
Kaya?
question. And I remember the last time, especially when it was during the award, the City of National City came on, the public works director, and talked with, actually it was something that we talked about the selection criteria, that part of the selection criteria, there was this allowance so that it wasn't purely by scoring, that it would there was an attempt to distribute it between different jurisdictions. And we discussed it, and even though I think at some point ITALK had accepted that we thought that we will go back and revisit, because it seemed like going by scoring is actually the fairer way to go than just wanting to go across and make it so-called equitable. In your new recommendations, did you consider that, some of the changes or consideration going forward?
Geographic distribution was included in reevaluation still, because that was what was approved by the board in the call for projects. And I think that's what we want to underscore in this presentation about our process for call for projects, is that if that is something that is not a preference to this committee or other policy advisory committees that will take draft call for projects to, that's where you voice or participate in suggest removing geographic distribution. We included geographic distribution many years ago because of the fact that many of the grant projects that were recommended for award were concentrated in a single area or in a community. And we wanted to ensure fairness in spreading regional dollars around. So to answer your question, geographic distribution was not removed in the reevaluation.
Can we look at maybe the scoring criteria of it? Maybe it is not score as high. It just seems to me that, and I think we even discussed it, that if a project scores high, they score high. And let's say a city gets it just because of this, geographical distribution, it just does not seem fair to the project and the merits of the project. Like the projects need to have, gain their own merit. So I think that's something I would like to bring back up, and maybe even look at how much weight do we give to the geographical distribution, if that's a goal versus, all the other criteria that are being used.
And if
Okay, I want to
add-
just clarify something, because I don't know if that was a correct statement or maybe I wasn't clear. this geographic distribution criteria seemed to be a new thing that was added only for this last cycle. Now, Goldie, I heard you say it's been added several years. Just want to clarify, is that a new criteria that, because we were all surprised when this new scoring came out, and I think that's what Mariam is referring to. It was not in the previous year's evaluation.
Absolutely. To clarify my statement, this issue of geographic distribution was brought up. And yes, geographic distribution was added in this last cycle only. And I just want to clarify, geographic distribution is not a scoring criteria. It's a method of ranking or providing the recommendation. It's
Right.
not a scoring criteria.
So you score the projects.
Yes.
And then you make
apply the
sure that
methodology.
every jurisdiction
Meets the minimum scoring
meets the
criteria.
minimum, but every jurisdiction gets a project if they meet the scoring criteria and minimum requirements.
Correct.
Okay,
Correct.
just wanted to clarify.
Absolutely.
Okay, Mariam, go ahead.
Yeah, I still would like to revisit that. That's something that I think is worth revisiting. Again, this is the projects and should be awarded based on their merit. And if to what extent the geographical distribution is skewed that, would like to see that and how that can be addressed.
So I think an opportunity to do that would be, I would imagine, in the next cycle,
Yes.
right? That you come back to ITALK with with the information and what you have done with the evaluation criteria. And at that point, ITALK has an opportunity to basically talk about this issue and at least provide our recommendations, which will then go up to the TC and the board.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
All right, but please consider that since this is something that ITALK has brought up in the past as well. Any other questions?
That's it. Thank you.
Anyone else? Lima, go ahead.
I just have a question about this active transportation grant to City of Carlsbad. This is a third extension. Maybe there is an explanation somewhere, but I didn't find it here. Can you expand on that a little bit? Why is there a third one?
I'm going to let Ben come up. He's our program
you.
manager for this project.
Good morning. I'm the program manager for Active Transportation Grant Program. So this was approved by the board in October of this past year. And there were stipulations put on that approval, basically stating that all funds would need to be used only for construction of the project, similar to stipulations with ITALK and Transportation Committee. And then basically that if the project was not completed by the 42-month extension for the retroactive agreement by November of 2028, that those would need to be returned to SANDAG, which we would use in future calls for projects. I'm
So
not sure if that
Lima,
answers your.
This
Sorry.
is a little bit of, I'm sorry, this is a little bit of history. I know you're, since you're new, this project came to ITALK for review, but it was proposed as a project that was dependent on another project being accepted. It was a roundabout issue. And we said, well, you don't even have this other project done by council. It's not been approved. So why are we voting on that? So I think Carlsbad went and configured and figured the project and came back. And we limited the grant to construction because, again, we just didn't know if they had enough time to be able to get this project done. And that caveat was put in on that project because of that. It's only construction within the 42-month extension. And if it's not, then the funds come back. So just a little bit of history.
I think that's a good idea, but the project was originally approved in 2016, so more than 10 years ago.
Yes. Yeah.
So
we're
is
aware
there
of
any
that
money
too.
there. I mean, like, what are they going to return?
Yeah.
Yeah.
This was, you know, we've had, as you mentioned, a long history. We had a situation where we had We didn't get approvals, and so as Sunny mentioned, they had come back. So, they were very adamant that this would be done by this time, and those stipulations were built in. And I think the reason for those approvals was because those stipulations were built in along the way. So we're fully expecting that that's going to restart, and we have a new timeline, and they understand that there's no more coming back. So that's where we're at right now.
And I don't know if you know off the top of your head, how much money are we talking about? I don't know.
Remainder of about $453,000.
Okay, thank you.
And they scrapped the roundabout, didn't they?
That's correct.
Yes, this was other improvements being done there. All right, Lima, any other?
Also I wanted to know, maybe I need to look at your website more. When is the next cycle of grant funding, or is there an ongoing process?
Each grant program has its own frequency. The next TransNet.
Yeah, so because this is TransNet funded and we have to wait often for the revenues to come in, we just released the Smart Growth Incentive Program one. So that one will probably be a few years before the next one comes out. We don't have an exact date at this time. And then we have TransNet Senior Mini, which we're evaluating that smart, specialized transportation grant program. That's usually coupled with our FTA 5310. So if we are putting out that one, it'll be later this year, probably around late summer. And then I believe those are the two most recently upcoming ones. The other ones, I don't think we have a call planned at this time.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other ITAC members? Okay, thank you all for your presentation, and we look forward to getting more updates and seeing the next cycle. Just wondering that historically, how often is the SGIP announced, or
The call for projects?
yeah,
2 to 3 years.
2 to 3 years? Got it.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry, Lorraine has a question.
That was kind of spurred off from what Sunny was asking. In regards to the SGIP, what is an example of a project, and there's only one that is currently allocated within that that funding. What is a type of project that would qualify for that? For it's the smaller.
This MG. I'm sorry, which one?
It's the
Not
the environmental
Oh.
mitigation
the plan.
program, land management. There's indication that
Oh, the 18.
one is funded, one project, and it has to be a threat reduction stewardship project. So it's a short-term project, 18 months or less, that reduces threats of species and their habitats on existing conserved lands.
Can you clarify your question? You're asking what types of projects are eligible for EMP grant dollars?
Well, specifically for that criteria, because
Environmental
there's, yeah, is that the environmental justice component or?
No, that's not the environmental justice component, I don't believe, but I can provide information for you. I don't have anything off the top of my head, but in terms of the specific criteria, those criteria also change from cycle to cycle based on input from ITAC and other PACs. So that's something that might look different. There might be recommendations. And also cycle 11, future call for projects, we're sort of in discussion right now about whether and when that will be happening. So that's something that's still sort of being worked out right now. But I can provide specific information for you outside the meeting regarding criteria for the different types of EMP LMG projects, if that would be helpful.
Yeah, that would, I mean, just to be clear on I would like to have a better understanding of what type of project would qualify. So I guess a description of that criteria would be helpful.
And these are, yes, I can do that. And these are, we're talking about generally the type of grantee is a smaller, well, it could be either a smaller nonprofit or it could be a county of San Diego or, so there's a variety of eligible, grantee types, but yeah, I'll provide that for you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thanks.
Very good.
Are there projects that you can share that actually got that grant and were completed?
Let's see. That would be within that period. I'm trying to think.
And you can provide to us later. This is an information, right? This is.
Yeah, I don't think we had any completed ones.
So one in place though.
Oh, that one project.
Oh.
Yeah. Now you're looking at the graph and it probably makes more sense what I was referring to.
Yes. I'll need to get back with you. I want to give you accurate information as to what that one is, but I'll let you know.
Sounds good.
Sorry.
Thank you. And thanks for the follow-up. Appreciate it. Okay, we are done with that item. We are on our last item of the agenda, item number 7, which is 2025 Regional Plan Update. And Tweri will remain to provide that report.
Okay, thank you. And I know we're close to the end, so I'll try and go through this relatively fast, but understandable. So I just want to provide a update or an overview of our adopted 2025 regional plan. And I want to start off the presentation with just kind of a reminder of all of the work that we have done over the last 4 years to that got us to the adoption in December 12th of 2025. So this slide summarizes some of the milestones that brought us to the adoption back in December. We started the plan more than 4 years ago, and we started off always with collecting travel data, updating our modeling tools, and really making sure that we're able to evaluate the performance of the plan. So you'll notice here in the early parts of the timeline here that we show a lot of different data that we collected, which is something that we're required to do as part of our plan requirements, is to collect and update new data for how we're doing that. And we did that through a variety of surveys over 2021 through 2022, followed by developing some of the plan's goals that were brought to our board and approved, as well as supporting policies and programs in the initial and draft transportation network, bringing us up to when we presented that initial transportation network to ITALC in March of last year. So since the last time that we did come to this committee to talk about the draft 2025 regional plan, we had since released the draft regional plan. We also released the draft environmental impact report, received a lot of public comment and review, and conducted a lot of thorough outreach. And then we received tons of comments, and I'll go over in a future slide on some of the different outreach that we did. But we were able to incorporate some of those changes into what resulted into our final plan that we brought to the board of directors in December 12th, and that they adopted on that date. So just a quick reminder, this slide highlights a lot of the different requirements that we have to comply with when we're putting together a regional plan, both state and federal. We have things from Title VI that we have to comply with in terms of demonstrating how our system is going to improve access to jobs, education, healthcare, and other for some of our most vulnerable communities. We also have to comply with the Clean Air Act. And so this requires a formal technical process for us to demonstrate how the plan is meeting federal air quality standards. So we received recently approval on our federal air quality conformity determination from the federal government in January of this year, which was a big milestone. So once we adopt our plan, we have to receive approval from both our state and federal agencies. So we just got that approval in January on our federal air quality determination. Another key area of importance of the plan is that it has to be fiscally constrained. And so this means that we have to demonstrate and show a financial strategy that shows how our transportation network could be funded using revenue sources that can be reasonably expected over the life of the plan. That includes TransNet, state, federal funding. And this is important to note that it's not a funding commitment. This is just a funding strategy for our long-term planning efforts. We're also required to show how we accommodate the connection between land use and our transportation elements of the plan, as well as accommodating for how our region will grow and how we will accommodate future housing growth with alignment with our regional housing needs assessment. And then one that you probably hear us talk about more than any of the other requirements is Senate Bill 375, which is our region's target that's set by the California Air Resources Board to reduce greenhouse gas emissions per capita by 19%. And I'm happy to report that our plan was able to achieve this target by 19.3, which was actually even better than our prior 2021 amended plan. And we also received approval from the California Air Resources Board acceptance of our sustainable community strategy, which includes their approval of us meeting that target. And we do put together a programmatic EIR for the regional plan as well. So this slide has, as I mentioned in the timeline, that there was a point in which when we start this off for regional plans, we go over what are the goals that we want to achieve and how do we want to measure performance. And so this slide highlights the goals that were for our plan from convenience, equitable, healthy, and safe. And overall, our final adopted plan is showing that we're moving in the right direction for all 4 of these goals that our board agreed upon. So for convenience, our travel time on our major corridors are projected to decrease across all different modes, including for our freight movement in those corridors. When it comes to our goal of equitable, we are being able to reach more populations, particularly some of our more vulnerable populations, and giving them access to some of the basic needs for jobs, healthcare, as well as parks, medical, retail, and the like. And they can do this more so by transit than they could today. In terms of health, the transportation system supports more active transportation. By 2035, about 20% of our population is expected to spend at least 20 minutes per day of walking or biking as part of their travel. And for safety, the network expands on safer facilities, and by 2035, over 86% of the population will live within a quarter mile of a designated bike facility. So together, all of these are helping us to meet the goals that we have set forth for our plan. So this is highlighting, as I mentioned, we did quite a lot of outreach for this particular 2025 plan and pulling together different groups to really, provide us input, not only when we were pulling together for the initial network, but even also when we put together and released our draft plan. And we met with everyone from different variety of presentations that we gave, working really closely with our board, our policy advisory committees, local jurisdictions, our working groups that we had, as well as our tribal partners and the community and many of our stakeholders, giving us quite a bit of feedback and input onto how they wanted to see the plan evolve, and the feedback that they gave us when we released the draft as to whether or not we captured everything that they had asked us to do. So we really designed this regional plan to be more transparent and more educational and helping people to understand how key decisions were being made along the way. And so you can see here the number of different activities that we did throughout the development of our regional plan and really being able to help us to pull that together. And then, the other thing that I will just note is that, while we're doing all of this, one of the other things that we were able to do from an educational perspective is really help people to understand that second slide that I mentioned when it talks about all of the federal and state requirements, because sometimes people are not quite as clear as to why we have to meet all of these different targets or we have to provide all of these different modes. And so that helped us in that educational perspective. So this slide here is highlighting our adopted final 2025 regional plan network. And this is a network that we believe meets a lot of the diverse needs and balances some of the feedback that we heard throughout that education and outreach that we did over the last few years, while also meeting our federal and state requirements. It's a network that has investments across multiple different modes of transportation, from our highway systems, transit, bus, active transportation, and investments in some of our more policy-focused areas for transportation demand management, or providing some flexible neighborhood electric vehicle type services, and really also thinking about how we can improve the movement of goods throughout the region. So you can see here highlighted on the slide that we are having things such as, 59 new transit routes, and that includes also, our plan includes a lot of different upgrades to existing routes for transit, for bus and rail, including a lot of more investment in upgrading some of our rural corridors and upgrading some of the transit that serves some of our unincorporated communities. There are 36 neighborhood shuttle services, otherwise known as flexible fleets, that Goldie mentioned, the Flexible Fleets Grant Program, and providing more opportunities for funding to see some of those things implemented across the region. And similar to our prior plan, we also have a network of managed lanes that are helping to improve traffic flow. One of the biggest differences between this plan and our prior plan is that because we have updated forecast information and understand that our region is growing a bit slower, the managed lanes network is more reflective of that. So in some quarters where we previously were proposing that we would have 2 managed lanes or 2 with a reversible, we now understand that that need is not there based on updated population projections and forecast. Safety and operational improvements are proposed throughout from our active transportation network, which has over 730 miles of planned bikeways, but also to, again, some of our rural corridors where maybe we can't make actual capacity changes, but we can look to integrate safety improvements on those. So I want to take this slide here to just kind of highlight, and I think there's some animation that I'll click through. When we last came to you, or Antoinette came in March, she gave you an overview of each of the major corridor projects in TransNet compared to the proposed at that time 2025 regional plans network. And those comparisons that she explained are really the same, and they are as they were back then. So the ones that she came and explained to you and all of the differences and the similarities, you can see that in attachment 1 of your staff report, which gives a detailed side-by-side comparison. But first, there are several corridors where the regional plan proposes the same number of total lanes as the ordinance. We're proposing managed lanes in general as a terminology, whereas the ordinance may have indicated adding HOV or general purpose lanes, but the managed lanes are still bringing the benefit of adding capacity in a dynamic way to meet the needs and give reliable travel in those corridors. Second, there are some instances where we are proposing to convert general purpose lanes to managed lanes, and either where communities don't support that addition, or we have just simply don't have the physical constraints. They're physical constraints that don't allow us to be able to do that. So when adding a lane is difficult, some of those locations are proposed for general purpose lane conversions. And then lastly, there are several corridors where a TransNet ordinance called for even more HOV or managed lanes. That's where I mentioned where maybe it called for more than one lane than what we're currently showing, but our latest populations projections are showing that we are growing at a much slower rate. And so we're matching our recommendations to what our new projections are showing, while also looking to be able to meet the needs of providing more reliable travel on those corridors. So again, all of this is consistent with what was shared with you all earlier this year or earlier last year, and it's consistent with what was released in the draft plan. The only change that I will just highlight is that from the draft to final, we did extend the I-5 managed lanes north of State Route 76 to Vandergrift, so kind of the yellow right there on I-5 North. And this is to make sure that we were being consistent with what was in the ordinance and also from some of the feedback that we had heard from the City of Oceanside. So the cost of the plan is $125 billion. And this is, again, not a funding commitment. This is a funding strategy for the long term of the plan. And this cost is not just only, for the transportation projects, but it's for everything when it comes to our projects and programs, as well as the operations and maintenance cost and the funding that we also pass through to our locals. So this cost is all encompassing of everything that it takes when we're putting together a regional plan. So that concludes my presentation, and I'm happy to take any questions.
Very well. Thank you, Tweri. Are there any public comments?
Thank you. We do have 2 public comments. First will be Cesar Javier, followed by Truth.
Cesar and Purita, you see, we're learning. And we have stake on our twilight years journey. Thank you. Thank you. God bless. Here is our value analysis contribution. It is indicative in the map of a unbeatable, unstoppable growth in population. We have seen the traffic. We have seen accidents. We have seen dense shelter, construction, development. Some are immorally implemented, putting vulnerability on those impoverished and economically or neglected community. We have suggested that it's high time to make a change, although it is expensive, but it is more economic in the long term. Let us not do surgery. Let us not congest the dense populated area already. Let there be a passage where community would be the one attaching, not the road connecting, like the East-West Railroad concept, where development is driven. That's our prayer. And second, let's put a plan also, flexibility to save lives of the Tijuana River pollution victims and its cleaning soonest.
Thank you. Your time has expired. Our next speaker will be Truth, followed by Marco Espinoza.
Hey, that was some really enthralling comments from Cesar Javier, as always, I would say. I have to agree with a lot of it in his metaphorical way of speaking, of course. But really, I'm going to be the downer on the parade because I 100% disagree with that plan. Don't like any part of it at all. And I could reiterate why. If any of you have heard me comment before, you've heard me say why probably 100,000 times by now. And I think let's just get to the root of it, though. You talk about, well, our plans didn't quite work out the way we thought. We thought we were going to have a lot of managed toll lanes, but no, we're going to do like half of them. Why is that? One, because SANDAG overspent and misspent our tax dollars on a whole bunch of ridiculous nonsense, including the 125 toll fiasco. They still haven't even fixed it. Stick with them on that, I talk. But that's part of why you don't have the budget that you should have. Who really cares, though, because those projects suck anyways. Number two, population decrease. Let's get into that. Why is there a lower population than SANDAG projected? Because SANDAG is never wrong, right? You wish that was true, right? Why? Why are people leaving? In fact, I think it was the year 2020, if not 2021, there was 800,000 people that left the state of California. It is still the #1 state where people are leaving for 6 years in a row. Why? Well, look at the policies that are being approved here at SANDAG. If you want to make life more expensive to live and you want to use excuses that are flat out lies, like, oh, it's global warming. Yeah, that was already disproven basically since day one. If you're going to continue these lies, you're going to continue increasing taxes based on lies. People are going to continue to leave, and the budget's going to continue to decrease. And the quality of skillful staff and everybody else is also going to decrease. And so things are going to get worse. And I don't want to be negative, but I'm just pointing it out that, hey, I'm one person here saying, wake up, change direction. Thank you.
Thank you. Our final speaker on this item will be Marco Espinoza. You can go ahead.
Hello, Marco Espinoza. I just wanted to say that I'm looking forward to the regional plan happening over the course of years. San Diego is my hometown, so I have no plans on leaving. And specifically the managed lanes. Curious how the HOVs will be turned into express, so it'll be dual HOV and sometimes access to toll road. So yeah, I just looking forward to the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you for all the public comments. Now we ask ITAC members, anyone has any questions or comments for Tuweri? Lima?
I just was looking at the list. Thank you so much for the presentation. Some of the changes that have been proposed is to move from HOV to managed lanes or to express lanes. And some of the items that would need to be included in the first phase before it's converted would be like throwaway items that would need to be updated if some changes are made. So how is that being considered? And also, we were saying that the population is going down, but some of the projects are recommending changing from 2 managed lanes to 4 managed lanes. So I'm not talking about specific project, just the list overall kind of caught my attention maybe. And I know that I wasn't here when the first discussions were happening, but just for my understanding how that process was going.
So I have one of our senior regional planners, Cecily Taylor, she helped with leading the network development. Could you maybe provide clarification? Are you asking if there are throwaway? I'm not sure that I understood the first part of the question.
So when we would build a corridor with 2 managed lanes, I would assume that it's 1 lane in each direction. And then there is a proposal to change, that it's done until 2035, and then between 35 and 50, it would be converted to 4 managed lanes, so 2 more, meaning that whatever was installed for the 2 managed lanes would have to be
We would,
removed to accommodate additional managed lanes?
no. So if there's a recommendation where we would phase the project because maybe there's a need for there to be 2 managed lanes in the near term, and then maybe the addition of 2 additional, it would build on. So it wouldn't be that you would throw away what you've currently built. You would it's just like how you might phase out different projects, you would build on to that. So I don't know if there was a particular line that you were looking at that we could speak to specifically, or we could certainly follow up with you offline if it would be helpful.
Okay, no, there were a bunch of projects like ordinance. I think that it's ordinances 9 through 13 is what that caught my eye. This is an attachment 1, I think.
Yes. So those apply to the I-805 corridor where for most of the corridor, there's currently an HOV lane. So what we're proposing is that in the near term, we would be able to convert that HOV lane to the express lane. I think that was actually kind of related to the earlier item, right? That's already something that Caltrans and SANDAG are working together to move forward on. And then farther along by 2050, we would also want to convert an existing general purpose lane to a managed lane. So that's the kind of phased approach. Soon, we hope to convert the HOV lane to a managed lane. And then later on, we would also convert a general purpose lane to a managed lane on the 805 corridor. I think we all know 805 is definitely one of the busiest corridors. I think there's one section where the ordinance identified 2 HOV lanes, and we're proposing 4 managed lanes on 805 for the majority of the corridor.
All right.
Does that help answer, or is there?
Slightly.
Okay.
My just understanding how 805 worked so far with the HOV lanes, where the violations of those who are using it are very high, and hopefully there is a provision for some kind of an enforcement that doesn't put our local law enforcement in danger, because there are really no shoulders there for them to hang out and catch those who are violating. So I'm just looking at it from the operational perspective, how that is going to be effective.
I know we're definitely having conversations about that. It's maybe not something the regional plan gets into, right? But as we're thinking about how can we have an effective system of managed lanes throughout the region, we're having conversations exactly like that.
Any other comments? Maria?
And I know as we're coming to the time, but I had to I bring this up and in this committee because it probably will not come up anywhere else. And it's no reflection on the work you've done. This is beautiful. It was really nicely done, by the way. Thank you. But I just want to plant a seed right now in the way we're looking at the future plans. We're looking at investing $125 billion that is coming up. And as I was looking at that, I couldn't help thinking about, you know how, in our daily lives, we do our everything and we keep doing it, and great if we can sustain that. But once in a while, to step back and see, okay, how can we do this really better? What is going on around us that may be able to give an insight into really bringing an efficiency? I was thinking about, let's say, Uber. And let's say self-driving cars, that in our lifetime, it was, I don't know, 20 years ago, nobody even was thinking about that. It changed. It has really changed the transportation model and the way we live our lives. And in this big planning effort, to what extent are we stepping back and looking at how technology might change or modify the way we're looking at this? We keep adding lanes and, and all that is good and is something that's required. But speaking of efficiency that we were talking about earlier, do we need to stand back and look at how is our world changing and how we might be able to hopefully foresee that, is even be in front of it to incorporate that in this big planning effort? And I'm not asking you to give me an answer right now. I'm just like trying to just look at one aspect of the way plans are made And I know it's a city manager friend of mine at one point who lives in the Bay Area, and especially they are forefront of technology. He created a position for in his city called innovation manager. Just as a person that goes around and is in contact with various, technology companies, even looking at how the world is changing and embracing the new way of life that has been opened up to us, and how that might be brought back in and incorporated in the way we make our plans, so that by the time we make $125 billion in investments, we've been at the forefront of how could have made things more efficient, just something that we were not even thinking about at this juncture. Just my thoughts. And I say again, there's no particular answer to it, just something for us to think about and consider as we're making these big plans.
Yes, Chair, if I could just make one
Yes, of
comment to
course.
that. So thank you very much for that comment. It's actually very timely as we are now completed with the 2025 regional plan, and we're required to do the plan every 4 years. We are looking at the development of the 29, and one of the first tasks that we are going to be working on is forming an emerging technologies task force for both private and public industry to help us to understand how we might integrate and think about the use of technology more and development of the next plan. So your comment is actually very timely and something that has been brought up in a couple of different committees, brought up at the state, and so we are looking to having a task force to inform us, understand the timing, technologies, integration with our existing systems, and bringing that efficiency. And so welcome ideas and suggestions if you'd like to give that to me as well.
Excellent. Anyone else?
That's excellent.
Yes. Jacqueline?
Quick question. So, do you have, I know you talked about some differences and some changes in this plan from the last plan, but do you have, a sheet, 2 sheets, maybe 3, if with bullet points that talk about some of the big changes? And I know you've listed things on here that I could probably go back and compare myself, but I wondered if that was available.
I believe when we presented this to this committee potentially in the March last time, one of the attachments might have had did it have a 21, 25 ordinance? We can go back
That does
look.
sound familiar, or I thought someone had talked about it being maybe even part of the plan, or where the plan sits in.
It wouldn't be part of the adopted plan, but we may have provided, I believe, a similar kind of comparison chart to a committee, so we can go back and look through our files to provide that.
March for this committee?
I believe what we presented last year was very similar to the attachment 1 that we included in this item. I don't believe we produced something that really directly compared the 2021 or 2025 plan. Maybe some speaking points, high level, some of the managed lanes, scaling back that Terry mentioned in the presentation. Is that what your interest was, comparing the last plan to this plan?
To see like what are some of the major changes between the plans?
Yeah,
I think those were part of high level conversations during plan development, but it might not be written specifically.
Okay.
We can take a look, and if we do have such a file, we can provide it.
Thank you. Anybody else? No? Okay. Well, thank you very much. Excellent presentation. And thanks for keeping us up to date. One quick question I have is, what's the thought process, aside from funding constraints, what's the thought process about in the future being able to basically convert a general purpose lane to a managed or HOV lane without creating havoc among the public for taking their lane away?
So we actually need, and I believe anyone in the room from SANDAG, if you want to correct me if I'm incorrect, I believe we need legislation to allow us to do that. And so that is why you will see in the plan, it's in the outer years, because it is going to take quite a while to get something like that implemented. So we're starting with conversion of things that we can do, like HOV, or projects where we can actually implement, and building new, and then the conversions is something that's later, giving us more time.
Okay, but do you think technology or anything else would contribute to maybe people less driving and more getting into a maybe autonomous carpool vehicle or whatever? I mean, is there a basis for that?
I mean, we certainly hope technology will help. We also, though, have understood in the past that autonomous vehicles actually increases the number of vehicles on the roads. And so it's a balance of how much you want to embrace the technology versus if you're trying to put more people in less cars. So that is part of the work that we're hoping to discover more and talk about with the Emerging Technology Task Force and talking to private industry and talking with public sectors who are already dabbling into this space a bit more so we can integrate that into our plans and our modeling tools.
Okay, very good. Danielle, did you have something?
I just wanted to understand your question a little bit better. Were you asking about like just converting lanes in general to express lanes? Or
General
specific-
purpose,
general
to
purpose?
any kind of a HOV or express lane. Years and years ago, Santa Monica Freeway, everybody knows that if you're in transportation. So that's why I was wondering if you're banking on something like that, and what would the process be, or what would be the thought process to actually implement something like that without public uprising. So
And it's been done successfully in Virginia. I know, and they have worked with their FHWA region has a slightly different interpretation around the rules of being able to convert, which is why they've done it. But it's happened on the East Coast.
okay, but that's also a legislative type of a process, like
No,
where
under the current regulations. But there's a different interpretation of the requirements from the West Coast FTA office.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
they're not California. You know, we have a lot of other options, East Coast. So, yeah. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. So we are at the end of our meeting. I appreciate all SANDAG staff for all your wonderful reports and updates. And I know we have a few follow-up items that we will be receiving. The committee will be receiving. Our next meeting is on April 8th at 9:30 a.m. So thank you, and we are adjourned.